Hi, this is Les Levine, the self-proclaimed voice of truth and reason in Ohio sports. I know that sports is one of our ways of getting a world. 2 hours, my wife and I had to cancel a trip that was scheduled months ago because we feared the 4-hour flight and the all-inclusive 8-day stay in a resort, especially after we saw what happened to that cruise ship where passengers were quarantined for 3 weeks. Which now brings us back to sports, where the Cleveland Indians are supposed to open up the season on March 26th at home against Detroit. In a world where cancellations of meetings of more than 1,000 people is happening right now, imagine this. Baseball Commissioner Rob Manfred, who didn't have the guts to vacate the 2017 World Series from Houston, or perhaps President Trump, may force a cancellation or at least a delay of the game for some unknown amount of time. I'm starting to think that way, and I think many of you are also. We've got Doug Lesmerises here. More Sports and Les-Levine is on the air.
I had a conversation about this a couple years ago. Sports are TV events, right? And for instance, you brought up the Indians. What's the deal with the Indians? Not many people go to the park and a bunch of people watch on TV, right?
Correct.
The local TV ratings are always pretty good. People have brought this up. I think an organization that tries to represent the rights of college athletes has brought this up in regards to the NCAA tournament, keeping those basketball players safe. I think if we get to a point of anything, I don't think it's that they would cancel any games. They would just play in empty arenas and empty stadiums, and they would show it on TV.
That would be March Madness.
And you know what you do when you go to the Indians opener in March? You freeze. So you sit at home, you watch it on TV, the beer's cheaper. Like, we're practically headed to that world anyway, where your TV is so good. Right now, we're on TV, there's nobody here. But
Don't tell them that.
Hello, studio audience.
No, so wait a minute. Here's my idea for at your house or my house. We'll just bring in some ice, and just to make us feel like it's down at the stadium.
Yeah, we'll host. If they cancel, if there's no crowd for the Indians home opener, everyone go to Les's house.
All right. Didn't they cancel like in the Rose Bowl in 1940 something because of the war? I mean, they could cancel everything.
Well,
there must be some provisions.
TV than it has ever been. And if we get to a point where, if the XFL right now, the XFL doesn't really need to have fans there. They could play on a sound stage and let people who want to watch TV, watch football games on a weekend, watch a football game. If they do anything, I almost guarantee they will not cancel anything. They just won't let anyone go watch it live.
All right, which brings us to something else. You always hear about the NFL. They say they have the season paid for before the first kickoff because of the TV money. That's not possible. If you have 70,000 people buying tickets at just, I'll throw out a number, $100 a game, a ticket, you need that revenue. You can't just say, well, TV will take care of it.
Well, I mean, I know, for instance, home games for Ohio State football, which that's what I know better. I mean, those are big money makers for Ohio State.
Question.
Absolutely. Those. Yes, they have Big Ten TV contracts that matter a lot, but when you look at what funds the athletic department at Ohio State, those home football Saturdays, that's a decent chunk of it.
Sure.
So you can't take it for granted, but if you're losing it anyway, if we get to that point, Les, and fingers crossed that we don't,
sure,
you're not going to have people watching live. You're either going to cancel the game and nobody gets to watch, or
playing the CBS fight song or whatever it is, going to commercial with no fans there.
Yeah, I mean, it would be, remember, didn't they have an experiment like a couple of years ago? They had like the football games with no announcers, and like, what is it like? It's like, what would a baseball opener with no crowd? They hit a foul ball and it bounces around in the seats, like it would be.
Like it would be in the second game of the season.
Well, I mean, that's the whole thing. Again, what are we pretending here? I mean, it's like, oh no, there won't be people at a baseball game in March. No one's there anyway.
I actually proposed this to the marketing department of the Indians. I said, and I was wrong, I said, as soon as you announce opening day tickets are on sale, they'll sell out in 5 minutes, which they didn't do this year. I said, don't worry about opening day. That's going to sell out no matter what. Concentrate on, have the flyovers at game 2. The balloons, the parade. Forget game 1. That'll happen.
Yeah.
Just go to And they looked at me like I was crazy, and I think they then went back to the office. I think that was a good idea.
That was a great idea, but again, it's a serious subject, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
no
this
question.
affects everything.
I'm not trying to be funny at
it's
all.
movies and Broadway plays, and will schools be we're not experts on this. We're not experts on anything, frankly. But I mean, like, if all of society is shut down, you can still play a game with just the players in an empty stadium, and there'll be a whole bunch of people at home watching on TV because nothing else is going to be happening.
Do you know how loud that'll sound in the Houston Astros dugout when that garbage can?
Bong. If they didn't get discovered already, they would have finally gotten discovered.
What's that
then.
noise?
Bong, bong.
I thought you were going to go into Carmen, Ohio after that. 216-575-0403 is the number to call. Doug Lesmerises here. His buddy, Bud Shaw, will join us tomorrow from secret confines around somewhere in the country, somewhere in a cave. He'll join us on Skype. Can't tell you. Can't tell you where.
Is he quarantined?
No.
Bud's quarantined. Sorry, Bud.
I wouldn't blame him if he did get it, though, for where he's at. But that'll be tomorrow night. Dennis Maniloff shows up on Wednesday. All right, the Cleveland Browns, they're letting Joe Schobert walk. Would you? Why are they doing it?
Well, the way it seems like they're going to operate, right? I mean, it's the dirty A word that nobody wants to say. But when you think about a team analytically, one of the things is it's about allocating resources. And you allocate resources a lot of the times to the most important positions.
Sure.
And linebacker in the modern day is not one of the most important positions. I often think teams can value their own people too much. And just because Joe Schobert was drafted by the Browns, should that make him any more valuable to them than some other guy who was drafted by another team that they could get maybe for a better price? But I do have a but there. I see you wanting to come in. So I'm laying a case that I kind of do wish they would keep him, though.
As do I. But the question is, do teams overpay for the other guy's player than they do for your own player to keep him?
Yeah, I think sometimes people do, right? I mean, sometimes
they value them differently.
Yeah, well, you have a better evaluation of your own guy. You know everything he does well. You also have an inside look at what he doesn't do as well.
It's like most of us pseudo experts. We're not sure what we're looking at, but if anybody tells you they watch every game that the Miami Dolphins play, they're making it up.
Well, it's like being married to someone or dating someone. When you have a player on your team, you're married to them. You know them warts and all. When another team is wooing them, they're dating them. They know the good stuff. They don't necessarily know the bad things about the person. I don't think there's anything bad about Joe Schobert other than he plays a position that isn't really as valuable as pass rusher, receiver, quarterback, defensive tackle, corner. So
you just named the whole team.
Well, I mean, honestly, if you went through and said, what are the most important positions? I mean, where's middle linebacker? 7th, 8th? So the thing that is my butt on this is Andrew Berry was part of the front office when they drafted Joe Schobert. When Chauncey Brown drafted Joe Schobert with the first pick in the 4th round. Part of it to me is they picked Joe Schobert with the first pick in the 4th round. He's what they wanted and more. And so you draft him. He gives you 16, 17, 18, 19, 4 good years. He's exactly what you want him to be, and they're like up the middle, not middle linebacker, but like those good players who aren't all pros, but also not the backup guys, but good, solid football players in the middle of your roster. And when the Browns have had regime change, they wipe those guys out a lot. Schobert's one of those guys. They're not wiping him out. They just don't want to pay him. I get it. Like, from the strategic standpoint, I kind of wish he was an exception to the rule.
Wouldn't you like to see a new regime come in and not unload everybody who wasn't their guy?
Well, but that's the weird thing. Is like he's their own
it's
guy. It's not a
twice.
new regime. It's the redo of the old regime that drafted Schobert to begin with. So this isn't. I mean, and we're going to get to olivier-vernon. That's John Dorsey's guy. Okay, well, Andrew Berry doesn't think he's worth it. This was a Sashi Brown, Andrew Berry picked the first time around, and now it's an analytical, strategic. No middle linebacker is worth that price.
Okay,
and I get it, I guess.
You brought up Vernon, so we're going to make a little switch here because I wanted to go to Rashard-Higgins, but let's go to Vernon first.
Okay.
His contract counts for $15.5 million against the cap. Nobody understands that, by the way. Releasing him would cost the Browns nothing in dead cap space. Nobody understands that either. So he's obviously going to go, right?
Well, it's one of those things. If he had a dead cap hit, you might have a guy who has a $15.5 million contract, but if you get rid of him, you'd still have to pay $5 million, right? So you're only saving 10.
Right.
They're saving the full 15 on this.
Right.
I've had some people, talking to some people, maybe question whether olivier-vernon's like a winning player, right? Like, he's a good player. Is he going to do all the things that helps a franchise win? For that price, you've got to do it all. You can't just rush the passer kind of decently on occasion. You've got to be locker room. You've got to be reliable. You've got to be good against the pass and the run. Like, for that price, you've got to be everything. And I don't know if he's everything. So for that price, the thing that hurts about this, and it's to your point, you change your regime. Now I don't want this guy. Man, Dorsey traded Zeitler for this guy.
Yeah, right.
Man, how good would Zeitler look?
Yeah, they don't care, though.
And again, that old regime signed interior circle. I mean, it's a never-ending circle. But I would rather keep Schobert at 10, which is probably what he's going to cost, than Vernon at 15, and they're not going to keep either.
Well, you hear about players that the team, the Browns, for example, they value these guys. How do you know? They come in, all they're doing is seeing a guy on tape for a couple of games. How do you know they don't do or don't value them?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the thing we talked about before. It's like, Olivier-Vernon, right? You didn't know him that well when he got here, right? So, like, it's all about, but you have to be smart with your cap, right? And this team is going to have Myles Garrett coming up. They're going to have Baker coming up at some point. So I get you that you have to be, you can't lead with your heart. You have to be strategic with the cap space and all of this, right? As right now we're in the analyze who they're going to lose. You can't do the full analysis until they get people. And if they don't sign Schobert and if they don't bring Vernon back, they're going to spend that money on other good players, and then we can fully evaluate whether it was smart or not.
I mentioned Rashard-Higgins. Here's a guy that most people forgot was still on this team. Missed 3 games in 19 with a sprained MCL. 11 targets, only 4 receptions, 55 yards and a touchdown. He made $2.025 million for the Browns in 2019. What do you do with him?
So here's the thing of this, right? He wasn't very good last year, and they didn't even play him half the time when he was healthy, right?
Right.
So you pushed his market value down.
You did that, and we didn't have a doghouse to put up on that screen.
Right. I mean, but if he had had a great year, it would have lessened his chances of coming back because he would cost more. It actually helps the Browns
that he sucked.
That he was bad and like Freddie didn't play him. It's like brilliant strategy. Now he's cheap.
So Freddie really helped us then.
It's one of those things. I can remember last year in camp, people talking about Demarius Randall, Joe Schobert, J.C. Treader, and Rashard-Higgins. You saw those 4 guys come into free agency this year. What were they going to do? You couldn't keep all 4. They were 4 good players. What were the decisions going to be? They re-signed Treader last year, and then Higgins and Randall had bad years, and Schobert had a good year, and it seems like they're going to end up with 2 of those 4. No Schobert, no Randall for sure, and I think they very well may get something done with Higgins, so you end up 2 of those 4.
216-575-0403. You can email us during the show at thereal.leslevine@gmail.com. Doug Lesmerises of cleveland.com and the Plain Dealer is with us. You can. Did you know the Ohio Lottery has paid out over $1 billion in winnings over the last 6 months? People are winning in record numbers, and winning is happening all around the state. Play an Ohio Lottery game and play it today. You can follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/more-sports-and-les-levine with new content posted each and every day. We ask a question, you respond, we put it on the air between 6 and 7 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll come back in a moment. More Sports and Les-Levine continues. We'll take a look at some of the offensive linemen who Doug saw at the Combine in Indianapolis. Back in a moment exclusively on cleveland.com.
The heart-pounding, fast-breaking action of college basketball is back when the 2020 Mid-American Conference Basketball Tournament returns to Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse March 11th through the 14th. Presented by Visit Myrtle Beach. Pulses will rise and hearts will race as the men and women of the MAC put it all on the line. Tickets for the MAC tournament are on sale now online at rocketmortgagefieldhouse.com and at all Northern Ohio discount drug marts. MAC Tournament Basketball. Be there.
Presque Isle Downs and Casino has sports betting. Use one of our 50 state-of-the-art Bet America kiosks to place your bet and watch your favorite games on one of our many HD televisions or visit our sportsbook area. Only at Presque Isle Downs and Casino.
As a kid growing up, my dream was to go to college, play baseball, and get a degree. Coming out of high school, I had two choices. I was accepted into a four-year university, but I decided to come to Tri-C after receiving a scholarship. I got my associate's degree at Tri-C. They transferred all my credits straight into Baldwin-Wallace, so I started at Baldwin-Wallace University as a junior. My name is Tyler Leonard, and I earned my first degree at Tri-C.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
Birthdays for today. Mel Ott, one of my favorite players of all time, born in 1909. Howard Hopalong Cassidy just passed away within the last year, right?
Yep.
Mortician, 1947. Ron Gant of the Atlanta Braves. Ben Roethlisberger, 74 this year. Reggie Bush. You didn't know Ben was that old?
No, he looks good for 74.
He does. Think he'll play?
Yeah, I think he will.
I think he will also.
Yeah.
You think he'll play well?
He might. I mean, if Baker has a good year and Joe Burrow goes to Cincinnati, Ben could be the fourth best quarterback in the division, depending how things shake out.
216-575-0403. All right, you were at the Combine in Indianapolis, the Circle City, and you saw, what do you look for when you go there?
I don't know.
No, I mean during the Combine. I don't mean at night.
I look for Steak and Shake. I mean, you try to get a read on guys a little bit of like, can they handle this next level jump? And like, you know, how they talk to us doesn't necessarily tell you that, but you get a read on confidence. You get a read on their grasp of the game. You try to get an understanding of, like, you know, maybe can they play multiple positions, and if guys are moving from left tackle in college to right tackle in the NFL or moving to guard or something, how do they think about that process? A lot of it is just, I mean, there's 300 kids there who are now men who are coming into this league, and you're getting a read on the next generation of NFL players.
If you were advising one of the top players, one of the top 20 picks, potential top 20 picks, would you have them work out at the Combine?
You know, this I think was a fascinating thing. Chase Young from Ohio State, who I know pretty well, great kid, great family, did no drills, no 40-yard dash, no bench press, nothing at the Combine, and he's also not going to do it at Ohio State's Pro Day at the end of March. He's going to do position drills at Pro Day and show them what he can do as a football player. But he said he didn't want to waste time training for the 40. So there's one thing, like, people usually go through the Combine stuff and they say, well, the film matters more. You have 2 or 3 years of film on me. Don't judge me based on my 3-cone drill timing.
Right.
And this is the next level of, like, I'm not giving you a drill time. No one will ever know what Chase Young runs in the 40. Now, Ohio State had him run the 40 when he was a freshman or something, but he's never going to run it. He's never going to run a cone drill. He's just going to say, I'm a football player, and if you want me, judge me on that. And it makes me half wonder, will more guys start doing that?
Well, I would think the top 20 guys would, but if you're a top 40 guy and you think you're a top 20 guy, you probably should.
And as long as they emphasize that stuff, and that, yes, if you run a 4.36 instead of a 4.42, you're making yourself millions of dollars, then yes, right, that matters. But we've seen some of those top guys. I mean, sometimes the top quarterbacks don't do a lot of that stuff. But for Chase to do it to that degree, I thought was interesting.
All right, Chase, he's bouncing around in the top 5. Where do you think he's going?
I mean, the decision's going to be, and it's all Ohio State related, if Washington at number 2 does not think that Ohio State's Dwayne Haskins, who they drafted last year, if they don't think Dwayne Haskins is their quarterback of the future, and they take Tua Tagovailoa at number 2, then you don't know where Chase ends up. Chase probably then goes 3 to Detroit. So far, everybody is projecting him number 2 to Washington because you think, well, Washington has Dwayne Haskins, who they took 15. But now everyone's throwing out well, they do what Arizona did. Arizona takes Josh Rosen, says, oh, no, we want Kyler Murray. If you fall in love with Tua, then maybe Chase winds up somewhere different.
What was the word you heard out there from the scouts and whoever you talked to about Tua? What were they saying?
I think it's
assuming he's healthy.
It's only and you can't quite 100%, I think, make that assumption.
Right.
Like, he has some tests and some things coming up. I think if you know he's 100% healthy, I think people really like this dude. They like the arm, they like the high-level competitiveness, all that stuff.
If Cincinnati wasn't the team involved with Burrow, would Tua maybe go ahead? If you just take a blank slate and say 1 through 10 or whatever, and you don't know the local tie at Burrow, does maybe Tua go ahead of Burrow?
I'll tell you what, the way Joe Burrow understands the game and breaks down defenses and just finds the open guy. And I mentioned it. I talked to Joe off to the side just for a minute in Indy, because, again, I know him from covering him at Ohio State. And I said, there have been times, Joe, where, like, just the way you sort of handle yourself and the way you stand and the way you walk, you kind of remind me of Brady a little bit. He stands like Tom Brady. Right. And he's like, yeah, I've heard that. And, like, that's ridiculous. But you know how Brady just, like, shifts a little bit in the pocket and knows where the pressure is and finds the open guy all the time? Like, that's what Joe does. And so I think Joe would be number one no matter what.
Joe might do that, but Brady didn't do it at that level.
No, but there's a lot of stuff. I mean, again, who's the insane guy on TV comparing Joe Burrow to the greatest quarterback of all time? It's me. It's just how you handle it. Brady was like an underrated dude who shared the job at Michigan and had a chip on his shoulder. Joe lost the job at Ohio State and had to transfer. Sure. If they had like graduate transfers back when Tom Brady was in college, he might have transferred too and left Michigan to go find somewhere to start. Joe got to it a little earlier. He got to it his last year in college instead of waiting for the pros. But that idea of, like, there's something like you seem good, but we don't know if you're great, and then you show you're great, I do think Joe has something, and I think Joe's going to be really successful.
Okay, most people think the Browns are looking offensive linemen. Are you one of those?
So it's one of those things that happens at the combine. It's like, oh, Isaiah Simmons is really good. Isaiah Simmons, the Clemson linebacker, he can play 4 positions at once. He's the fastest, strongest player in the history of football. Maybe the Browns can get him at 10. It's like, no, he's never going to be there at 10.
If he's that good, he's not 10.
It's like there's a bunch of guys. Here's the thing. Joe Burrow, Tua Tagovailoa, Chase Young and Jeff Okudah from Ohio State, Isaiah Simmons, that's 5 guys. If a guy like Justin Herbert from Oregon, the other quarterback, teams jump for quarterbacks, you can start to imagine the guys who are definitely going to go before 10. And that means I think the Browns have a good chance to maybe take the best tackle in the draft. If not, no worse than the 3rd tackle. Maybe 2 will go before them. And there is a wide mix there. But again, Tristan-Wirfs and Mekhi-Becton both tested off the charts. They're the biggest, most athletic tackles ever, which means other people might want them too.
Okay, you mentioned Okudah. He's okay?
He's fine. Okay. Jeff Okudah is going to be really good.
All right, here's some of the names you talked about. Tristan-Wirfs.
Yep.
Iowa. What do you know about him?
I mean, he tested really well. There was some discussion, like before the combine, of might he move to guard, which I know a lot of people push back against. I think he's a high-level guy. I think he would fit at seemingly a lot of what Kevin Stefanski would want to do. And I think, again, the primary issue with Wirfs might be, will he last until 10? Because he was one of the handful of guys who kind of blew people away at the combine.
Somebody's going to make it to 10. How about Mekhi-Becton?
I think so. These are the 2 guys who were bonkers at the combine. This guy is giant. At his size, 364 pounds of tackle, to run as fast as he did.
It was almost laughable watching it.
Nobody has ever seen someone that big ever run that fast. Now, I think a lot of people have some concerns about, because he's so big, again, he showed that he can move with that 40 time. Does he fit an outside zone scheme that Kevin Stefanski wants to run? I'm not sure he's the perfect fit, so I think it might be better for the Browns if he would go before 10. I think maybe you'd rather have Wirfs than him, but I think these are the 2 guys that would be gone before them. Most of the tackles should be available for them otherwise.
In this day and age, do you need a tackle who can run a 40?
You need a tackle who can get out, and it's more about agility and quickness than it is about like straight line speed. But you don't just want a tackle who's one of those I love to pound people guys. Because even in the run game, yes, you have that footwork to pass protect, but even in the run game that Kevin Stefanski wants to do, you've got to be able to have the footwork to get out.
Jedrek Wills Jr. What do we know about him?
This is, I think, when you start getting into the realm of guys that could be really interesting for Ohio State. I don't know as much about this guy other than I think there are, from the draft experts, they say this tackle class is as good as any we've seen in recent years. And so
there's still going to be a good player at 10.
There's going to be a good player at 10, and I think the Browns have to take a tackle because it's not called assemble the most all-pro players. Right. It's called build a winning team, and not having good tackles last year ruined their season. So maybe they're going to, and I'm very apprehensive about spending a bunch of money on the free agent tackle classes out there. I would rather draft the guys, but I think Wills, I think Andrew Thomas from Georgia, the guy, Jackson kid from USC. There's another Georgia guy. Like, there's a lot of guys to choose from, and I wouldn't mind them going tackle in the first round, maybe tackle in the third round too.
All right, I would take the best guy available, and to me, that's Alex from Northeast Factory Direct.
Oh, that guy's footwork is mwah.
No question about it. 3 locations, West 140th Street in Cleveland, Lakeland Boulevard in Euclid, Freeway Drive, that's in Macedonia, and of course, NortheastFactoryDirect.com. They have the best price guarantee. They've been telling you for years now, 20 years, that they got the lowest prices. Well, right now, low overhead buying in volume can help save you big money, and they're offering a 1-year best price guarantee. If you buy furniture or hot tubs from Northeast and within a year you find it advertised for less, Alex is going to refund the difference. All at NortheastFactoryDirect.com. We'll take a break. We'll come on back. Doug Lesmerises is here. He's an expert on Ohio State football. We'll talk that. More Sports and Les-Levine continues exclusively on cleveland.com.
Celebrate Nature Stone's 30-year anniversary with a free Nature Stone floor. During 2020, we will be giving away 30 free floors to 30 very lucky customers to say thank you for making Nature Stone the best concrete flooring solution for garages, basements, and more. Call or visit naturestone.com today to register to win, and we'll send you a copy of our new buyer's guide absolutely free. There's no purchase necessary. Winners will be chosen monthly. With over 30 million square feet installed for more than 60,000 customers, it's easy to see why I always say it's not just a floor. Wow, it's Nature Stone.
Got your Ohio Lottery pick 3, I see.
Yup. Those glasses are hip.
Hip? Most people think I'm a square. But what's wrong with that? A box bet can increase your chances of winning. And what is a box? A square. There are so many ways to play. There's coming out the wazoo. Oh, shucks. Look at me yammering on. Put a lid in it, Picky Ricky. Play the Ohio Lottery Pick 3 today.
There are tastes we remember. Every smell brings the happiness of times gone by. Experience this every time you walk into Gallucci's Italian Foods. Whether you need lunch on the go, a catered party, or that perfect blend of wine, meats, and cheeses, Gallucci's has exactly what you're looking for. Straight from Mama's Kitchen for old world traditions or original experiences. From the tastes you remember to new flavors you'll never forget. Gallucci's is a tasty branch of your family tree.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Doug, time now for a How Come Quickie. How come when the NFL owners suggested 17, Tony Romo said, yeah, 17, that's the number I was thinking. $17 million to do analysis on television.
That's Les-Levine money, baby.
We're getting up close.
Yeah.
Well, you'll see in this state in Les-Levine history, we'll see how close you are to being correct on that. Ryan Day signs a 3-year extension. What was the hurry?
Keeping NFL teams at bay from trying to steal him and reassuring everybody around Ohio State, including Ohio State recruits, that he wants to be there for a while. I asked him about that. Today was the first day of Ohio State spring football practice. So we got to watch the whole practice, and then we talked to Ryan Day afterward. And I asked him directly about the contract and what he thought the message of this 3-year extension that gave him a pretty nice size raise, too. And he said it was more about the years than the money. That he says, like, my kids are excited, we get to stay here. He was saying that stuff last year, that he wants to be here for the long haul. But that's when he was like some nobody replacing Urban Meyer. Now he's a college football playoff coach. So to him, it does reaffirm a commitment to Ohio State. He originally was on a 5-year deal, so he signed a 3-year extension, so 1 year off the deal that he did. So he's locked up for another 7 years right now. Now, he could leave tomorrow and pay the buyout, but he doesn't want to leave, but this was a reaffirmation in his mind of like, I am not going anywhere, but it doesn't guarantee anything.
What does it make him on the list of highest paid? Saban, then who else?
Yeah, so he went from 4.5 last year. He's making about 5.4 this year, and then it goes to 6.5, then 7.5. So like right now, to make 5.4 this year is still like in the top 20. You know, it's not super high money, but by the time he gets to 7.5, only 2 years from now, there's only like 5 coaches right now making more than 7.5. Now they'll all move up too.
At that point anyway.
But if he keeps winning, Gene Smith, the Ohio State athletic director, is very aware of the market. It's very important to him. He doesn't want to ever have a successful Ohio State coach with like contract stuff in the back of his head. But Ryan Day is never going to leave Ohio State to coach another college team. But when we were talking about the Combine earlier, you look at all those NFL head coaches lined up at the Combine. Young offensive guru, young offensive guru,
right.
Young offensive guru. You plop Ryan Day right in the midst of them. He fits right in. That's what Ohio State doesn't want to have happen.
Okay, roster changeover. From a fan's point of view, you just get used to these guys, maybe in the middle of their second year, and then they're gone. So let's take a look the returning players. Of course, you got Justin Fields at quarterback, Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, Luke Farrell, Josh Myers, and Wyatt Davis. You also have the rest on the right. My favorite name of all is Tuff Borland. He can play too, can he?
He's a solid college linebacker. I mean, he's kind of like an old school throwback guy. And he did like change his name to Tuff. Like that wasn't his birth name, but also that's more than a nickname. He lives that every day.
His real name is Ruff.
Yeah. The thing that jumped out today, the guys on that list, Garrett Wilson was a 5-star recruit at receiver. Today when we saw him, he was playing in the slot, where he was an outside receiver last year. They're replacing KJ Hill in the slot. Garrett Wilson is a super dynamic guy with the ball in his hands. Ryan Day is excited about him playing inside in the slot. He is going to be a super dynamic dude for them this year.
And here are some names that you do know, if you're at least a casual sports fan or Ohio State fan. Let's take a look at who they lose based on that. J.K. Dobbins, of course, was tremendous. Way better than anybody thought, right?
Oh, I knew he was that good.
Did you?
Yeah, for real. He had a great freshman year. He got a little sideways as a sophomore. I thought he'd be a 2,000-yard back last year. He's legit.
Might K.J. Hill be a Cleveland Brown?
He is Jarvis Jr. So, I mean, when you get to be a good team, you start drafting to replace guys currently on the roster.
Right.
So they don't. He's a slot guy through and through. The Browns don't need him this year, as long as Jarvis is here. But if they don't want to pay Jarvis down the line, he's the next Jarvis.
You see the names on the right: Chase Young and Jeffrey Okudah, Damon Arnett, Jordan Fuller, and Davon Hamilton.
So I asked Ryan Day about this again today. I think on the list of great Ohio State defensive players, Chase Young is arguably the best defensive end ever at Ohio State.
And that's after the 2 Boses.
And that's how good Chase Young is. And Jeff Okudah is arguably the best cornerback they've ever had. And that's after Denzel Ward and Marshawn Lattimore and all these great guys. So there has to be a drop-off. Ohio State always has the next great player ready to replace the great player who just left. But there is nobody in that building who right now and in 2020 will be Chase Young or Jeff Okudah.
When you make a statement like that, I think of the running back situation. That running back should be a prime thing for Ohio State, all the Heismans, and all the success and the opportunities where they only basically, except in blowouts, they're using one guy. Why is it so hard to get that one guy?
It's just been a little hinky in recruiting. They've missed on a couple guys. I thought it was weird, too. It's only been like 2 classes where they sort of missed at running back, but they had a kid who was here who was a top 100 guy who had some off-field issues and left. They're really leaning on Master Teague, and Marcus Crowley is a young guy who's hurt and didn't practice today. They're short at running back, and they have to get a big-time recruit for this class. But for this year, I think they might be okay if their running back is good because Justin Fields at quarterback is so good. Their offensive line is going to be awesome, and the receivers are really dynamic. But that is probably the number one question on the offense is replacing J.K. Dobbins, and can their running game at least be pretty decent?
Where was practice, outside or inside?
Inside. in their
Nice.
big, giant indoor facility that's like bigger than the Browns. for the
See, well,
amateurs.
yeah, in fact, that's one of the problems with the Browns. You know, the Browns, the field ends at the 20-yard line out in Berea. I don't know if you've noticed that. So that's why they have red zone problems.
Oh.
If they had 100 yards, they'd be...
You drop a quickie on me there?
It goes from the one goal line to the 20. Well, they don't know how to finish.
Yeah. Yeah, that's...
You play the way you practice.
Yeah, Demetrius Harris is standing against the wall as a red zone target.
216-575-0403. You can explore your interests and find a program at Tri-C that puts you on a path to a bright future. Tri-C offers more than 1,000 courses and over 140 career and technical programs. Go to tri-c.edu for more information about Tri-C. Doug Lesmerises and I return in a moment. Mekhi-Becton will join us from Nature's Stone. More Sports and Les-levine continues exclusively on cleveland.com.
As a kid growing up, my dream was to go to college, play baseball, and get a degree. Coming out of high school, I had two choices. I was accepted into a four-year university, but I decided to come to Tri-C after receiving a scholarship. I got my associate's degree at Tri-C. They transferred all my credits straight into Baldwin-Wallace, so I started at Baldwin-Wallace University as a junior. My name is Tyler Leonard, and I earned my first degree at Tri-C.
If a piston makes it go, it's in this show. March Motor Mania takes over the 2020 Summit Racing Equipment IX Piston-Powered Autorama. March 13th, 14th, and 15th at the IX Center. Show cars, antique trucks, construction equipment, hot rods in the Asylum, motorcycles, military vehicles, and themed car clubs. New for 2020, the Throwdown Monster Trucks and the return of Fat Man's Invasion. With Euros, imports, sport compacts, and lowriders. Kids 12 and under are free. PistonPowerShow.com for details. Discount tickets on sale at Discount Drug Mart locations and Summit Racing Equipment in Talmadge.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to OhioLottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
It takes attention to detail. With your local Bryant dealer, you're getting more than just a technician. You're getting someone who pays attention to your needs and the little things that make a big difference. It takes a dealer you can rely on. And to keep your family warm this winter,
here, let me show you how this works.
It takes Bryant.
Bryant. Whatever it takes.
And to keep your family comfortable, it takes Smiley One Heating and Cooling. Find them at smiley1.com.
This date in sports history, Wilt Still Chamberlain scores 100 points as the Philadelphia Warriors beat well, they didn't officially beat the Warriors because there's only one R in that word warrior. I don't know if you noticed that. Had it been 2 R's, I would have done a better job of double checking. Wilt, a terrible foul shooter, went 28 for 32 at the line, and that game was played at Hershey, Pennsylvania.
Can I tell you something?
Yeah.
I grew up in the town next to Hershey, Pennsylvania. My uncle actually was at that game.
What town was that?
Palmyra, Pennsylvania. I could smell the chocolate from my house.
He was at that game. Wilt scores 100. Paul Arizon, 18. Tom Meschery, who was really a hippie playing basketball, scored 12. Guy Rogers, pretty good player, had 4 in that game. Can you name any New York Knick?
John Starks.
No.
Oh.
Jumpin' Johnny Green, Richie Guerin, Darrell Imhoff. The only reason I remember Imhoff, he played on the California team that lost when Ohio State won their game in 1960.
Oh.
Jerry Lucas beat up all over Darrell Imhoff.
They're having a reunion of the Ohio State 60 team at the game on Thursday night. Bob Knight's going to be there.
I know Knight's going to be there for some card show or something Sunday. He's going to be there that whole time?
Yeah, I guess. He said he's coming.
216-575-0403. That's the number that we use to call Mekhi-Becton from Nature's Stone. Hello, Michael.
Hello, Les. How are you tonight?
Good. Doug Lesmerises is with us. He
He
knows a lot of stuff.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does. I've been listening. A lot about Hershey, Pennsylvania, and the neighboring city.
Yeah. Exactly. I told him what I said to you last week, that Al Michaels could have said, do you believe in miracles, or wow, it's Nature's Stone, and for some reason he went with the miracle thing.
Well, I appreciate that, but I'm going to go with the wow, it's Nature Stone.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's talk some baseball here. The Indians trying to fend off. Let's see, it's been 2-3 days since somebody got hurt. What's the matter with these guys? They're not trying hard.
Goodness. Yeah, right. They're dropping like flies. I mean, it's certainly not a good thing, but on a positive note, most of these guys will be back by late April, early May. So it's not like they're going to be too far behind the 8 ball when they do get back. They'll only be about a month or so into the season. But it seems like, the pitching staff is developing a lot of these just kind of nagging, lingering injuries and type things that are preventing them from putting it all together right now.
I think that Mike Clevenger is setting a new standard. Doug, they say Clevenger's hurt. Let's see, most guys, you're out 3 months. Clevenger, a week and a half. Come on, let's go.
They need a man, right? I mean, you got to respect a guy like that.
Absolutely.
But, I mean, it's one of those things. You
hope he doesn't come too early.
There have been times in recent years when you literally almost felt like the Indians had too much pitching, right? Except that there's no such thing as too much pitching in Major League Baseball.
If you do, the lords of baseball do make things happen to you.
They punish you, for sure.
They punish you, and they get guys hurt. Mike, anything happening other than the fact that Reyes looks like he lost a person in his weight and still is pounding the ball? He's taking that weight loss and using it into hitting the ball to deep right center over any fence that they can construct down at Goodyear.
Yeah, he looks great, and I'll tell you, they got 2 6'5", 200+ pound guys batting in the middle of that order now with Domingo Santana there too. But Reyes needed to get his weight down and get more athletic in order to play the outfield on a consistent basis, and he really did that. So that's a good thing, and if that all works out, they've got a nice platoon there.
Doug, how do guys from the Dominican or wherever they are not know how to catch a fly ball? I mean, they don't have to dive over fences. They just catch the one that hit to you.
You have to create your own opportunity when you're in situations like that, and you got to hit, man. Like
just hit, and don't worry about the field.
I mean, I think that's for a lot of those guys. You got to show that you're worth being signed, and so you've got to show it with the bat. They don't sign guys because they catch fly balls. For real. But I mean, talk about this.
In batting practice, somebody has to be out there catching it and whipping it back in.
Yeah, do you know what their name is? You don't know what their name is.
You never hear of them.
Shag the ball guy.
Shag Crawford.
Those guys are cheap. The cheap young power in baseball. Yeah. If the Indians are especially with Fran Mail, I mean, if that's what they're on to here, oh my gosh, especially for an organization like the Indians, where a cheap young anything is so important. Man, they've had some, they've needed to find some power the past couple of years, and if they have this guy, and he's going to do this for a couple of years before they have to really pay him, that's a game changer for that lineup.
You were talking earlier about linebackers not being what they used to be. A guy who can hit 45 home runs, they'll find a place for him.
Oh, 100%. If you drop a fly ball or two, who cares?
Well, that was the whole. When I was coaching, that's what we used to do. I would set my lineup and then find a position. So we can always teach somebody how to play a position. Very difficult to teach somebody how to hit, and even more difficult to teach somebody how to hit with power.
All right, here, two guys, Mike and Doug, guys who really know their stuff. I'm going to throw a question out at you about the modern game, and maybe you can help me out here. The analytics that they use for whatever, fielding position shifts and all that other stuff. How come since 1901, when the game essentially started, the lineup is still constructed basically the same way? You get a guy who can hit for average, get a second guy who moves him up, third guy drives him in, fourth guy is your big power hitter. Why hasn't analytics changed that to find, maybe you want your lead off, the guy who's now your cleanup hitter, you may want him leading off because he's going to get 50 more at-bats in a year. Have they analyzed that or not?
Chris Bryant's going to hit leadoff for the Cubs this year.
Okay.
So some smart teams are figuring that out. Francisco Lindor has hit leadoff for the Indians before,
because, right? Well, all the time, because they don't have a regular leadoff guy.
I think there is a movement among the most analytically inclined teams that, exactly what you said. It's 50 more at-bats for your best hitter. What are we doing?
Wouldn't you like Albert Bell leading up? Well, not now. He's got a bad hip and he's a little old. But when Albert Bell was Albert Bell, wouldn't you want him batting as often as you can?
Yeah, no, I think, and the Indians have been pretty good about some of this stuff. You look when they're rolling and Lindor and Ramirez are hitting high in the lineup, it's like their problem has been that they don't have other power guys behind them down in the lineup. But man, if Francisco Lindor and Jose Ramirez are doing their thing, they should be 1-2. Or, they've had Santana hitting leadoff for this team because he walks and he has a little bit of power. He's not a traditional leadoff guy. I think Francona's been pretty good about that.
Mike, what are you thinking now? You're seeing the Indians in some exhibition games. They're putting up some numbers, but you don't know who they're hitting against. You feel better about their lineup than you might have a month ago?
I liked their lineup after they signed Santana. I mean, they've got, and Domingo Santana I'm talking about, they've got a lot of pieces that are professional hitters. The Hernandez signing was, I think, a great signing. It gives them 4 switch hitters across the infield, which is huge, in professional baseball, particularly with all the shifts and everything like you've been talking about. It also gives them one thing that I'll say about the analytics and all that. There's 2 things that get analyzed a lot, and that's slugging percentage and on-base percentage. And slugging equates your power, how many extra base hits you have, which includes home runs and other extra base hits. And on-base percentage is just as important. And I think what you try to look for in your lineup is when you're starting a lineup out, you look for the guys that are going to not only hit for power, but that are going to get on base, because there's guys that walk a lot and they find other ways to get on base besides just hitting for power. So you kind of put that combination together, and that becomes your best hitter. And that ultimately is who you want to lead off, and who you want to bat second is basically your second best hitter. And then you kind of go from there. So when you see guys hitting like 240, but they've got 40-some home runs and 100-some RBIs, they're going to bat a little later in the order, 4th, 5th, 6th, somewhere in that area, because they don't get on base as much as the guys that are hitting in front of them. So it's all that combination. On-base percentage is huge for guys batting in that top 2. And the Indians have guys that do both. They get on base and they hit for a good slugging percentage. They hit for good power.
All right, Mike, just to wrap this up, I know where I would bat Francisco Lindor. You ready for this? Anywhere he wants.
In Cleveland.
In Cleveland, anywhere. You want to bat 9th? Be my guest.
Just not for the Yankees.
I had an old coaching buddy of mine in college, and years ago he was talking to me about Grady Sizemore. He was asking me where I would bat a guy like that in my lineup when Sizemore was probably one of the best players in baseball. And I was talking to him, and he says, where I would bat him? Anywhere he wants to hit. Put him up there leadoff and let him get on base as much as he possibly can and get as many at-bats as he possibly can.
All right, Mike.
That's the way to go.
As always, thanks for joining us. Wow, it's Nature Stone.
Hey, thanks for the opportunity, guys. Wow, it's Nature Stone.
Thank you very much. Northeast Factory Direct. People ask me, is the furniture just cheap or is the price low? Well, no, it's not cheap furniture, but it's a lower price than you're going to find anywhere else. Northeast Factory delivers high-quality name-brand furniture like Flex Steel, England, Klausner, and much more. Alex, the owner, started it 20 years ago. He has 2 really nice lines of custom furniture, great style selection, and fabric options, and you can get quicker than you're going to get it from the expensive stores. Made right here in Ohio. It's the Amish furniture. You don't get higher quality than that, and it costs so much less at Northeast Factory Direct. Sokolowski's University Inn, the winner of the James Beard Foundation Award 4 years ago now, and only 5 in the country get it each and every year. Mike and Bernie Sokolowski's University Inn, open 11 to 3 Monday through Friday and Saturday nights for dinner. There's no place better in this town, 5 minutes out of downtown Cleveland. Sokolowski's University Inn. When we come back, we'll take a look at the Facebook question of the day. Doug Lesmerises is with us. More Sports and Les-Levine continues exclusively on cleveland.com.
Get Nature Stone and never replace your basement flooring again. Your concrete is uneven, damp, and not healthy. Carpet and tile don't last, breed mold and mildew, and give worthless warranties. Nature Stone permanently corrects uneven concrete and is not affected by dampness or moisture. And with Russell's Promise, our true unconditional warranty, there are no hidden maintenance costs. Act now and save up to 50% with our volume discount pricing. Must be installed by the end of March. Schedule your free cost estimate easily online today at naturestone.com. It's not just a floor. Wow, it's Nature Stone.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a line. A long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Heart-pounding, fast-breaking action of college basketball is back when the 2020 Mid-American Conference Basketball Tournament returns to Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse March 11th through the 14th. Presented by Visit Myrtle Beach. Pulses will rise and hearts will race as the men and women of the MAC put it all on the line. Tickets for the MAC tournament are on sale now online at rocketmortgagefieldhouse.com and at all Northern Ohio discount drug marts. MAC Tournament Basketball. Be there.
Presque Isle Downs and Casino has sports betting. Use one of our 50 state-of-the-art Bet America kiosks to place your bet and watch your favorite games on one of our many HD televisions or visit our sportsbook area. Only at Presque Isle Downs and Casino.
Let's take a look at this date in Les-Levine history. 1970, Les and Tony Romo have something in common in their third year of doing games. They were each paid $17. Tony got $17 million, and Les made $17 a game. But money's money.
Love of the game, man. Les, you don't do it for the money.
I don't?
No, you do it. You tell the people you do it for the love of the game.
Yeah, well, I did. I told, well, I don't have time to do it. I gave my wages over the years where it began. And I'm still here to talk about it. We have the voicemail of Truth and Reason. You can call us anytime during the day. We do the show, of course, live from 6 to 7 p.m. Eastern Time, but you got the voicemail of Truth and Reason. We'll give you that number after we hear from Bob in Greenville. Go ahead, Bob.
Hi, Les. This is Bob again from Greenville, Ohio, which, by the way, is about 50 minutes northwest of Dayton, very near to the Indiana border. It's a town of 14,000 and the county seat of Darke County, the ninth largest county in Ohio by area. Okay, here's my comment. Instead of the 3-batter minimum for pitchers, what do you think of limiting the roster to a maximum of 11 pitchers, maybe even 10? This would force managers to leave their pitchers in longer, hence speeding up the game, and they could use their pitchers' effectiveness and recent workload as the criteria and not some arbitrary 3-batter minimum. Thank you.
All right, Bob, thank you very much. You got to learn you can't argue with them in the middle. It's on tape. Actually, they're going the other way. They added a space on the roster to 26, and they think this will speed it up. I think if you just keep using guys game after game, they have to have a rest between their appearances, don't they?
The relief
guys, yeah.
I mean, if you're a short inning guy, you can come in multiple days in a row if you're only throwing an inning.
Yeah, and you'd throw more pitches in the bullpen than you do on the mound if you get it right.
Yeah, I mean, they want to take the walking to the mound and all the conference stuff. I mean, they want to keep the game rolling. It's not really about roster management and that kind of thing. It's they don't want as much dead time in the game. So I think the idea of like, hey, you got to pitch to 3 guys, I think is a reasonable move. As long, it changes the strategy for everybody, but they're never going to go for like cutting jobs and like let's reduce the roster size. That union would never go for that.
Let's go to Ron Byer, a frequent contributor. Go ahead, Ron.
Hi, Les. This is Ron Byer. Hey, Les, I would like to give my opinion on 2 sports issues. Number 1, Major League Baseball. I believe since they, meaning Major League Baseball, decided not to discipline the individual players on the Houston Astros who were guilty in the cheating scandal, then what should have been done was the trophy taken away and show for future history and generations that there was no champion in 2017 because of cheating. And number 2, the Browns. I finally hope the new alignment, meaning new coach and general manager, is finally the correct one, and positive results finally start to happen.
Thank you, Ron. Thanks for joining us as you frequently do. We appreciate it very much. Doug Lesmerises is with us. One more segment to go. Let's take a break. We'll come back in a moment. I mentioned the voicemail of Truth and Reason. You can call that number, 216-200-6650. Call us anytime, leave a message, and we'll put them on the air. We'll take a break. We're coming back with How Come Quickies and more. More Sports and Les-Levine continues exclusively on cleveland.com.
Get Nature Stone and never replace your garage flooring again. Your concrete is cracked, uneven, and not safe. Paints and poly coatings don't last, are slippery, and give worthless warranties. Nature Stone permanently corrects cracked, uneven concrete, eliminates slipping hazards, and is easy to clean. And with Russell's Promise, our true unconditional warranty, there are no hidden maintenance costs. Act now and save up to 50% with our volume discount pricing. Must be installed by the end of March. Schedule your free cost estimate easily online today at naturestone.com. It's not just a floor. Wow, it's Nature Stone.
If a piston makes it go, it's in this show. March Motor Mania takes over the 2020 Summit Racing Equipment IX Piston-Powered Autorama. March 13th, 14th, and 15th at the IX Center. Show cars, antique trucks, construction equipment, hot rods in the asylum, motorcycles, military vehicles, and themed car clubs. New for 2020, the Throwdown Monster Trucks, and the return of Fat Man's Invasion. With Euros, imports, sport compacts, and lowriders. Kids 12 and under are free. PistonPowerShow.com for details. Discount tickets on sale at Discount Drug Mart locations and Summit Racing Equipment in Talmadge.
There are tastes we remember. Every smell brings the happiness of times gone by. Experience this every time you walk into Gallucci's Italian Foods. Whether you need lunch on the go, a catered party, or that perfect blend of wine, meats, and cheeses, Gallucci's has exactly what you're looking for. Straight from Mama's Kitchen for old world traditions or original experiences. From the tastes you remember to new flavors you'll never forget. Gallucci's is a tasty branch of your family tree.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
Bud Shaw tomorrow night from WKYC.com from an undisclosed location. Well, I know it, so I guess it's not undisclosed. Toledo Mike writes in with a How Come Quickie tonight. You can follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/more-sports-and-les-levine. New content posted each and every day. Toledo Mike says, how come wearing a turtleneck is like being strangled by a really weak guy all day long?
I don't wear turtlenecks for that reason.
I don't think has anybody worn one lately. Tony in Shaker Heights, how come loud snorers wake everybody else up but not themselves? I often wondered about that.
I wake myself up.
Do you?
You've never woken yourself up snoring?
Say, what was that?
I've done that.
Mr. Gullible, how come the wave was banned at Michigan football games since so many students were drowning? That's not fair.
I don't know if I get that one.
Michigan, they were doing the wave, and some people drowned because the waves are too big. I don't know. I think he's questioning the intellect of Michigan people, which is totally unfair. He also says, how come, I don't know what this means. How come Orion's belt is a big waste of space?
Oh, I get that.
Is that astronomers talking here?
Yeah, it's a constellation, Orion's belt.
There
Waste.
I get it.
In space.
Oh, all right. So you would give it a high grade.
That's good. I like space jokes.
John Patrick, how come whenever my wife says, do you notice anything different, I know I'm in trouble?
Oh, yeah.
That I get.
Just run out of the room.
Excuse me, honey, I can't hear from 5 rooms away. Finally, John Patrick, how come you should only cook alligator in a crock pot? I get it.
I get it.
Crocodile, alligator.
I've had alligator. Have you had alligator?
No.
As like an appetizer?
Really?
I used to bread anything and dip it in a sauce. It tastes the same.
Does it look like frog legs, or what's it look like?
Oh, it's like a chicken finger. Everything tastes like chicken. You can bread anything. We had cactus. I was on vacation. We had breaded cactus.
Oh, come on.
You bread it, you dip it in a sauce. You don't even know what it is.
Doesn't it cut your mouth?
There's no need. They take the needles out.
Oh, you didn't tell me that part. You have a closing comment, or are you done?
I am intrigued. I'm still upbeat about the Browns. Like, there's enough moving parts here. I'm curious to see what Andrew Berry and Paul DePodesta do in free agency. We're going to learn a lot more about how they want to allocate resources and build a team. But let's keep remembering they're at a very different stage of the franchise building from when Andrew Berry was here last time. And I think there's a reason, even though I would like to keep Joe Schobert, I think there's reason to have some faith in Andrew Berry.
Okay, I think what happened is they accumulated talent and didn't figure out quite how they would mesh together. Is that a fair assessment?
No, I think that's a great assessment, and I think they have to find. And again, it seems like Joe Schobert might be one of those guys who could help you do it, but they have to go find some guys like that, not just an all-star team.
Very good. Thanks to Doug Lesmerises. Read him on cleveland.com and The Plain Dealer. I'll see you tomorrow night with Bud Shaw, Dennis Maniloff on Wednesday. Of all the shows I've ever done, this is the most recent.